This is a Shrimps Trust podcast. All news and all views expressed in the podcast are those of the contributors, not necessarily those of Morecambe Football Club.
Yeah. God, I believe me. Blessing in the land is Morecambe FC. Has gone to see me. Blessing in the land is Morecambe FC.
Right, here we go again with another ShrimpNet, the podcast of the Shrimps Trust, to discuss all things Morecambe FC. So joining Rick and Morty this evening, we have the Thinking Woman's director, with the latest from All in the Attic, which what is the boardroom, is the attic, isn't it? The top room. It's welcome along, James Wakefield. James, thanks for joining us.
Cheers, Freez.
It's always a pleasure, never a chore. And also to give us the lowdown on our newest recruits to the officialdom of the Morecambe FC family. We have the founder, the manager, and the captain of Morecambe Ladies. Oh, Morecambe Women FC. You've changed it, haven't you? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Morecambe Women FC. In Sophie Fish, Nick Barrett, and Becca Baldwin. So welcome along.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Becca was like, oh, hello.
I'm not manager anymore. I've handed that over. I'm just chairman.
Oh, you're chairman. All
yeah.
right. Steve.
Manager's not here, and manager's not here tonight. He's working.
All right. Is he a taxi driver as well?
Yeah, he's doing the night shift, isn't he?
All right. Yeah, he's taking over your cab, Nick. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right. Where do we start? The usual format. We have to talk about it. The game off last Saturday, Port Vale, wasn't really a surprise. So we ended up not having played for 2.5 weeks and going to Portman Road in front of 20,000 on a Tuesday night, conceded in the first minute. What could possibly go wrong, Joel?
I know, lovely stuff, lovely little way to spend your Tuesday night. And obviously, first off, well done to all the fans who made the trip down there.
102.
I know, 102. That's a really impressive number. And looking at looking on social media as well, it seems like there were a load of M6 closures, which meant a lot of people didn't get back till 4 or 5 in the morning. So, yeah, it's a tough life sometimes, and especially when you've just lost 4-0. And I was on another podcast discussing League One stuff last night, and they were asking, about how I thought Ipswich played them, and they were very good. But it's kind of hard to give a real verdict on what I think of them as a team, because the game got set up in such an advantageous way for them in the first minute. We've headed a corner into our own player, and it's fallen straight to Freddie Ladapo, which is just not what you want in the first minute. And I think from that point, I thought for the next 15 or so minutes, I thought we had some moments when we looked quite good going forwards. We had put some nice little moves together in their half. I think we've had a free kick. It's come to Caleb Watts. If that just drops onto his foot and not his chest, and he's able to get his shot off half seconds quicker, then he could have got an equaliser. But it wasn't to be. But at the same time, because we were pushing on a bit, because we were behind, I think you could kind of see Ipswich were getting a lot of joy going at us on the break. And then obviously comes to the second goal. They've nicked it off Gibbo in midfield. If we're not 1-0 down, does Gibbo just play it safe and knock it back to a centre-back instead of trying to turn and go forwards? I think it kind of does these things to affect things. And I think from that second goal, I think we had a couple of moments, but it was kind of it was kind of pretty much done at that point, just because of the quality they possess to be able to kind of pick you apart on the break, especially at home. And yeah, it was one of those. It was frustrating that it couldn't be more of a game because of the goal we conceded in the first minute in kind of slightly comical fashion. But yeah, it's one of those. It's not going to define our season. It would have been good to get something there. It would have been good to have a bit more of a game of it. But Ipswich, they've spent as much on 2 players for transfer fees as we've spent our entire budget for the season. So we won't go down because we lost to Ipswich. It's going to be about beating your Cheltenhams and your Actons, your Burtons, and obviously in the next few weeks your Forest Greens and all that, and Cambridge when we play them again. So they're the ones that we really need to win. Disappointing not to get the win against Ipswich, but we move on to Saturday against what's a more manageable game with Bristol Rovers at home.
Now, you can probably absolutely pick me apart on every single podcast we've ever said, but I like the way you've fallen into the Alan Shearer trap of using plurals of your Burtons, your Forest Green. And I'm like, how many is there? How many Burtons?
I was listening to the Football Cliches podcast just before coming on here. So
everything you said, I agree with. And you're exactly right. I was sat watching the game and I thought, if we can nick something, we're back in it here. But then as soon as Ladapo scored the second, I was like, that's it. There's no way back.
He's been on one against us. Ladapo, he's been on one against us recently. He scored that goal he scored in the first few minutes for Rotherham against us last season was quite spectacular too.
Yeah, exactly. I hate him. But James, it's not going to be, as the point was made by Joel, it's not going to be a season where losing to Ipswich is going to define us. The results for the rest of the evening went for us. And as long as we can keep picking up points against the teams around us, then we stand a chance, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a bad night at the office. I think they only created a couple of big chances, but they scored 4 because we kept sort of like giving them the ball 2 yards out. So it wasn't a great first half. It was good to see the young lads come on in the second half and play. I thought that Crowley looked really sharp and a bit of a handful. And Simu looks like after one wayward pass, he looked really strong and actually really good on the ball as well. So generally speaking, it was a good second half run out for the players. And ultimately, you just got to chalk it off as a bad night at the office, which, you know what, when you've won 3 out of 4, you can say bad night at the office and nobody's too bothered. But that's all it was. And the results around us, whilst we've had games frozen off and win and moves blown off at Cambridge, have actually gone reasonably well. You know, yes, we've dropped back into the bottom 4, but nobody's made a huge amount of ground on us, and we're still squarely in the middle of that pack. So yeah, we can't complain over the course of the last few weeks. Tuesday was just a bad night at the office.
And Nick and Sophie, I see Pip's deserted us now because there's obviously an offer of biscuits elsewhere. But as football people, the only straw I'm clutching at is it was 0-0 second half against Ipswich, and that's it shows some progress, doesn't it?
It's funny because we watched it on iFollow and it wouldn't work for the full first half. It came on at half time. So we actually saw the good half and we were quite encouraged by that. Obviously, Derek was quite annoyed because the first thing I saw was 3 or was it 4 subs coming on straight away at half time. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, what's happened? What's happened here? But yeah, they were. It was different and encouraging. I think that the break in play for the last 3, was it 2 missed games? The big break, it's really affected the team. And I think that momentum had just gone. So I'm just hoping that they'll come back firing this weekend and have the spark back again.
I think the positives for me were, as James has said already, Danny Crowley looks like he could be an important player for us. And young Melon, Honeydew, as we're calling him, he looked pretty rapid up front. So these are the positives. Becca, did you watch the game?
I didn't, unfortunately, but I did.
No, you did the right thing, girl. You did the right thing. You didn't miss anything. I'm telling you, you didn't miss anything.
Oh, that's right.
If you lose 4-0, it's like torture, but it's like one of them things, and I'm sure everybody's the same. You sort of like, you feel a bit of a traitor if you switch off because you think there's 102 people travelled all the way down there, so you can't switch it off. You're thinking, I've got to show solidarity. I've got to watch this. So
Chris said to me, "Do you want to put SAS Rogue Heroes on at half time?" And I was like, "We've got one left to watch, and I'm really enjoying it, and it's a nice thing that we both got into it together." But I sort of said, no, we're watching the second half. Yeah. But it wasn't as I wanted to say it.
Yeah, you have to, don't you? So, looking at the 3 subs that came on, having a discussion with my little WhatsApp group of all season ticket holders, they're all saying they wouldn't be surprised, Joel, if Simu, Crowley, and Mickey Mellon all started on Saturday.
Yeah, I think I'd probably expect to see Crowley and Simeo likely starting. I think with Mellon, it might be a bit more of a case of kind of bedding him in gently because, you know, that was his first ever professional game of football. You know, he's only ever played under 21s or youth team before. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a couple of changes on Saturday, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we know what Derek's like. Derek's very much, you've got the shirt and you keep the shirt until you have you maybe slip off a little bit or somebody does something untrained and then it changes over. And yeah, will completely surprise me to see it stay the same, but I think I'm leaning towards thinking there might be a few changes. I think he might have alluded to it today in his interview. He changes. You sometimes change personnel for the opposition, in particular to deal with something that they've got. And yeah, I think it's hard to judge the players too much in many ways, though, because I think after that second goal went in, I know you expect more from the players, but I think people's heads started to go a bit. There were some bad decisions going on after that second goal, and things were getting a bit stretched. So maybe he'll discount it. Maybe he'll think I need to shake things up a bit. We'll just have to wait and see till Saturday. Yeah,
there were some bad decisions when that second goal went in our half because I started eating biscuits. But, I was just like, oh, God, I was depressed. So I got the fake mint penguins you get from Aldi. I started eating them. Enjoyed it.
It's a good biscuit, Freeze. It's a good biscuit.
Yeah, biscuit for a biscuit. Exactly, James. So Bristol Rovers away at home Saturday. Away we drew 2-2. That was an interesting and quite an entertaining game, James. I think looking at the way Joey Barton plays, they'll probably come and have a go. Do you think?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I hope he's not listening, but they can't defend, so they have to have a go. They've conceded more than us, even though they're sitting several places higher. So, to be fair, they play really entertaining football, and they do go for it. And I think the game at theirs was a decent game. It was a very good, very, very good goal from us, from Weir. And I think they probably shaded it in terms of chances created, but overall, I didn't come away feeling like we'd been lucky. And it was a decent game. But yeah, it should be a good game. And for our players, if they were playing the other night against one of the best defences in the league, certainly if you look back into last season, running into this season, certainly one of the deepest defences in the league. Bristol Rovers is a completely different proposition. They will probably score, and therefore it's one of those where we should score more than them.
I like your positivity. Like I say, Joey Barton always plays fairly expansive. I expect the fullbacks to be getting forward and the midfield to be pushing on Joel, because as James has already said, they do like to score as well as concede.
Yeah, they've got quite a high line. They'll push on quite a lot. They'll try and get a lot of possession on the ball. They're quite hectic, really. I think from what I've seen in bits and bobs of them, they've got. I think we've seen that we've exploited a high line quite recently, obviously with Burton Albion. Although in fairness, I think
your Burtons,
yeah, Bristol Rovers I think are a bit better equipped to deal with that because Burton had a 35-year-old and a 36-year-old playing at centre back, which was never going to work out that well. And Ben Garrett, who isn't really much of a sweeper keeper, whereas Belshaw, who Bristol Rovers have, is more of that kind of a keeper. But he's somebody who's got an error in him and he can be a bit erratic. So we've exploited it well against Burton. It might be something that we're able to exploit again. I think we've seen throughout the season they're not exactly the most solid at the back, but on the flip side, Aaron Collins up top, somebody we know quite a bit about. Obviously, one of kind of Jim's last little gems he picked up for us in his time at the club, and fantastic player. Doing really, really well this season, and we'll definitely have to be watching out for him and some other players. They've got Anthony Evans there as well, haven't they? He's doing right. Another kind of another one. He was on loan for us at the time, wasn't he? But plenty of good attacking players. So we'll have to be on our guard. But I think, as with many Bristol Rovers games, it is probably likely to be a few goals in this one on Saturday.
And Nick and Soph, what would you be advising Derek to do with Aaron Collins? Because I always think, well, you can't run without legs. So, but that's me as a defender.
Well, from the bit I did see on Saturday, I thought Simeon looked quite good when he came on. He looks well organised. Looks like a good leader, actually. So I think he'll probably do a job on him. He might even go man to man and mark him out of the game because he's a wily character. I think from what I remember of Collins back in the day, he likes to dribble a little bit. So I think we'll be all right. I think we'll look after him as long as we can score the goals. I think Cole needs to start scoring, doesn't he? So hopefully this is the game.
Well, I looking at it in plain terms, you look at Danny Crowley's show reel, and he's set that many goals up, just chipping it sort of from the just outside the D into the box for people to run onto. That I'm rather hoping that that's the sort of thing they've been practicing in training, but what do I know? And bizarrely, I know Derek listens to the podcast, so when he comes on next time, which I'm expecting pretty soon, Derek, we'll confirm or deny that with you. But so looking ahead to the Saturday game, obviously we'll now be without the already missing Shane McLaughlin because he's signed for Salford today. So we've got, by my reckoning, that's five gone, with obviously Kieran Phillips returning to his parent club. But we've only signed 3. So that must leave some space, according to Derek, Joel.
Yeah, I think he's mentioned it as well in his interview earlier today. Just to touch on Shane McLaughlin, obviously, he was pretty pivotal under Robbo last season. I think the energy he was able to bring to that kind of box-to-box number 8 role kind of enabled us to play in the way we did, with Toombs sitting at the base of midfield, and I think after that, in that kind of January, February spell when we really hit a bit of form, it was really nice balance in midfield with him, Toombs, and then either Wilding or Phillips in that more attacking role. So he was a really vital player last season. Obviously, different managers have different preferences from what they want from players, and for whatever reason, it's not worked out with Derek this season, and it's a shame because he's a good player, but ultimately that's football. It's not necessarily about how good or bad a player is. It's sometimes a matter of styles and how they fit into a system under a manager, and clearly Derek doesn't see him as a fit for him. So it's good for all parties that the deal's done. It frees up a wage for us that we can use in this window, and for Shane it means he can go and play football somewhere, and landed himself a move to Salford, which is really good, to be honest, because he stays in the area probably. Club competing towards the top of League 2. There's a promotion race in it, so that'll be good for him. But yeah, a couple more spaces in the squad. We'll have to wait and see if what Derek can get over the line. January, a bit hectic, but I'm sure Derek and Greg are working very hard at getting a couple more players in.
Yeah, and I'm sure James is going to tell us all about it now.
I'll start off by saying just, and I don't know whether we'll have any interest in Morecambe podcast anymore, but a big thank you to Kieran Phillips. He's a young player. He did a cracking job for us, scored some important goals and ran his socks off, and at times looked like a real handful. A massive thank you to Kieran for all that he did for the club. I know he really enjoyed his time with us, and it's gutting when a player has to go back because they've been injured. That said, Huddersfield's a big organisation, and I'm sure they'll do everything right by him to get him fit again. And I suppose from our perspective, it was good that we were able to bring in another young forward in time to have an impact on the second half of the season. There is something left in the pot, as Joel says. It has been very much a case of needing to move players out to bring players in without something completing from the point of view of the club's ownership, which is like buying and selling a house, which is just as big a pain in the backside as that, if not more of a pain in the backside. But I think Derek and Greg and the team have done an amazing job, actually, of moving players on that they wanted to, and of bringing some really decent quality players in. And there's a bit of space left there in the squad. So certainly looking at how things stand today, the squad's looking quite handy. And there's real threats on the bench, and there's players on the pitch that, I think I said earlier in the season, it's been a long time since we've had so many ball playing midfielders in midfield, and suddenly we've got another ball playing midfielder in midfield to add to the pack that we already had. And whether it's the signings or the loanees, there's some real technical ability there. So yeah, there'll be more incomings. And it's just a case of Derek and Greg doing what they can. But it's been a good window so far.
Yeah, it has. I say the frustrating thing is, and we're all frustrated with it, is the fact that obviously the Cambridge game and the Port Vale game being called off for different reasons. But it's something that, I'll touch on when we talk about Morecambe Women, because the simple fact is, we're now in a situation where even though we've had 2 games off, there's still some teams that have played less than us, and there's still some teams that have played more than us, and it doesn't really sort itself out until you've sort of done those night games in sort of March and April, and all of a sudden the picture becomes a little bit clearer, because obviously inevitably we're playing Port Vale and other teams around us when that's happening, but we shall see. I
think as well, just we have obviously a few games frozen off for the first team on the men's side, which is gutting. But the weekend of the Charlton game, that was going to be the weekend that the women were going to play on the pitch in Mazuma for the first time.
Yeah, that was the working Reds game, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was just as disappointing. It was really, really gutting. In fact, or even more so that game couldn't go ahead on that Sunday, because that's quite a sort of landmark for the club that was going to happen. And so the sooner we're able to get that organised again, the better, because the Sunday was as big as the Saturday that weekend.
Yeah, well, I'll come to that, because hopefully done the correct research. There is there is some good news on that one, but I'll come to our three guests, Nick and Sophie and Becca. So start with you, Sophie. Obviously, this has been a long old journey for you, hasn't it? Because you started this many years ago, didn't you?
You're just showing my age there, really, aren't you?
No, well,
Yeah.
Starting a team at 12 is amazing.
Absolutely.
How's that?
I did okay, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long journey. Positive though. Look where we are now. We've like the men, we've been up and down. We've sort of been rebuilding this last few years. With the team, it aged, not me obviously, but but we're on the up again now. As you've seen results, we had a ropey start, but we've had players coming back now from pregnancy, long-term injuries, but yeah, it's looking really positive. It's exciting. Now we've got Morecambe SC on board officially. It's just onwards and upwards, isn't it?
And Nick, you got Pip on you there. I noticed Olive the cat's disappeared again, but how important is it as a women's football team that now you've got the official recognition that you are a part of the MFC family? That's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, the idea has been floated for a year or two now, and we've nearly been there. And then it's sort of obviously things have changed and just changed this direction, that direction. But I think, all fairness to Charlie and obviously Stuart Glover, now that he's in that position, they've pushed that through, and obviously given us a lot of help this season. Stuart particularly, he's been a diamond, to be honest, and everything he's done for us everything he's promised has come to fruition so far. Obviously, the game, the cancellation, the cancelled game was a bit of a blow. I mean, it was my Christmas do, that one, so I was gutted that was cancelled. Had lots of plans. I mean, the thing around that is, since that, I picked people up in the taxi and people I meet in town, and they've said to me they were gutted because they'd planned days out and they were bringing family that had never been to football or never seen women play, and things like that. One lady said I was bringing everybody, my whole family. We'd hired a box or something along those lines, a table, and again, it really messed with their plans. So the fact that obviously the women's Euros was a massive thing for women's football, but the fact that people were coming to the game, were quite excited about it, and it was going to be a spectacle. I think it would have been a good game. The team would just started to hit form around about that time, so it would have been a really good, entertaining game, I'm sure. So yeah, it was disappointing. Yeah.
But weather can't be helped, can it? It's going to happen.
No.
It'll be happening.
Yeah.
soon.
But you've got to be gutted, because you're looking forward to particularly as the inaugural game, and it was just after it had been announced, sort of like a few weeks earlier, that it was going to happen, that you're officially Morecambe ladies / women, etc. So it's got to be really disappointing. But the following on from that, people listening will be like, well, surely we are. And I noticed from the fixtures that you've got one a month organised coming up, February, March, and April, which is fantastic, and that's going to be sort of 2:00 starts at the Mazuma. Is that right?
Sorry.
Oh, there's Olive.
There she is.
Hi, Olive.
right on
Hello.
target. Oh, chicken.
Who wants it? Becca, do you want to have a go at that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, we've got the games. Be nice, like Nick says, the people that couldn't make the last one, they can rearrange. There's so many people that are mentioning when's the next game. Like obviously me, Nick and Sophie, we all coach the younger ages in the girls setup, and they're also interested to come and watch us. You've got all the fans as well. It's never ending the amount of people that come and ask. So it's obviously because of Morecambe for taking us on board, really.
Yeah, so it's an exciting time, and I'm sure that the first game, if you have a bit of a crowd there, that's going to help you, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. It'll spur us
Seeing how
on.
it
They're
affects the men.
12 women, aren't they? 12th man.
Well, yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. And it's strange because there was a couple of us tootling down as well, just to sort of like, just to sort of like have a look. It's just like it's not the novelty value. It's just like, well, hang on, if you're part of the Morecambe family, then why not get involved? And that's it's a great initiative, isn't it, James?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And I mean, I'm a father of 2 daughters, and I want my girls to aspire to achieve whatever they want to. One of them fancies herself as a number 6. So the fact that it's not just the Lionesses and it's not just the Premier League, and there's actually a Morecambe women's team is absolutely huge, and it's absolutely as it should be. If you go to the States, the women's game there is arguably bigger than the men's game, and that again is as it should be. It's not a game that really benefits one sex or the other. It's just a good game, just a game for anybody to play. So I think it's absolutely wonderful. I know how much hard work has gone into all of the evolution of the organisation over a long time from Sophie and Nick, and huge credit to you guys. I think that what Stuart and Charlie and Ben and a couple of others have done to bring it all together is a really good thing. But it's about bloody time, and it's just really good that it's happened.
So your daughter, who's a 6, is she a ball playing centre half, or is she just a big horrible Sam Allardyce type?
I can't work it out because she's only tiny, but she just likes winning the ball. I don't know if she can do anything with it when she wins it, which is a bit like a dad. But she just likes winning the ball.
Sorry, that was just Usman.
I'm like a sort of a non-technically gifted Usman fan when I play football.
And from that point of view, I'll come back now because obviously I looking at the results at the start of the season. I'll put my glasses on. Look at results at the start of the season. 21st of August. I'm sorry to remind you of this one, by the way, but Blackpool FC girls and ladies, but 5-1 home defeat. And that's like, 3 days later, Tom Finney women 1-0 up at half time, lost 3-2. Preston North End FC lost 5-0. Penwithern Town ladies 4-3. That sounds like a right humdinger, that. And then 9-0 at Accrington, and I'm like, whoa. And then Penrith 7-2, and I'm like, whoa. And then Chorley Women FC Development 2-1. And I'm like, oh dear, this isn't, And then literally every league game since, you've not lost. So what happened?
I mean, to be fair to Becca was injured for most of that early start of the season. So she can play a big part in the recovery and where we've gone from there.
So are you the dominant centre half or something, Becca? Or are you
She's the number 6.
I am actually. How funny.
Well, there you go.
I know recovery was horrible as well. Sorry, go on.
No, go on. I was going to say, so when did you appear back on the scene? What was your first game back? I'm looking at the fixture now.
So I was back the last week of October.
That's it. That coincides exactly with the 7-3 win at Penwithern Town ladies, who you'd previously lost to. So it was like, what? You'd lost 4-3 to them, and then you'd knocked 7 past them. So what happened that day?
I don't know. As I say, obviously we've built the team back up. I think we had a few blips in the road at the start of the season. So for us all to come back together and realise what we needed to do, and little tweaks here and there, and we've had players come back that we've not seen for a little while, which we're really grateful for. They're players that have got a lot more experience than we're quite a youngish squad, I'd like to say. So to have those players back, we do really appreciate it. They keep us together, and I think we've got to the point, especially the weekend that's just gone, we've really gelled together quite well now, and I think we're only going to keep going up.
Yeah, so like the one that's just gone, that was 0-0 at half time and ended up 3-3. What happened there?
I actually only turned up at half time, to be honest.
Oh, there you go.
I was at Rod's 70th, so I said, well, I'm going to have to sneak off and watch the second half of the ladies at least. So yeah, I only saw the exciting half again. So I think the upturn has been that right at the start of the season we struggled to get the squad back together. As I said, a few were pregnant, a few injured, and I think now we've got most of them back and a bit of experience, as Becca said. The young ones are sort of taking everything on board that they're being told by the older ones, and training's going well, and the morale's better than it was. The morale was quite low at the start of the season because we knew injured players not out, not ready yet, and things like that. It was always going to be an uphill start, but we knew that, and we just thought that, well, once everybody's back and gets back into training, we'll get the results that we knew we would deserve. But being in with the Morecambe thing, it's certainly gelled everybody at training. They've certainly shown that they really want to be part of it now. It's a big draw. Wearing that badge is a big draw, and if we can continue to wear it for years to come, we'll certainly start to climb the leagues, because I know that it's an attraction. So the more games we can get, the Mazuma, and the more support we get, it's only going to benefit us as a women's team, and obviously the community will start to realise that women's football is something that can be watched and enjoyed.
So with the partnership, with Morecambe FC officially, what kind of benefits has that brought? Is it kind of more on the kind of branding side of things, but are there some practical benefits as well?
It's probably you, Becca, because you probably see as a player, you probably see more of that than I do.
I mean, trying to think back to last season, trying to think to now, it's levels above what we had. Like all the social media, for example, just seeing our names in lights on the starting lineup on Twitter, it makes our day. Like, we all retweet it because we just think it's the best thing ever, and it's so funny to think we never had this last season and what a difference it makes to have something like that. Just to be proud to wear the badge, like, the facilities are better, the kit obviously is good. There's no negative with any of it. So we obviously can't thank Morecambe enough for everything that they do for us.
And Tyson for buying the kit.
And Tyson, of course.
It's funny, actually, we've got an Accrington, Sophie works with an auntie or something of one of the Accrington girls, and she said to her one weekend when she was visiting, she says, have you seen? She goes, what? She says, Tyson, they sponsored Morecambe.
She's a boxer, you see.
She's a boxer as well as obviously a football. And she's, does that mean I might have to go and play for them now? So yeah, it does have its. It was an interesting one. Obviously, Tyson Fury is a massive filler, and we certainly appreciate everything that everybody does, not just obviously Tyson and his back.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a global brand now, but also very, very keen to promote everything to do with Morecambe, the town, and luckily Morecambe FC. So you take what you can get, James, out of Tyson, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to point to you, Becca, like there's no thanks required. Honestly, this is something that's been coming for a long time. It's needed to happen, and it's about time it's happened. And I think that in a few years' time we'll all look back and we'll go, well, hasn't that turned out well? Because the interest in both sides of the game is gonna grow, and it means that the whole club, all of us collectively, are going to appeal to more people, and that's what we need to do. I think that there'll be huge benefits to the whole organisation from this, because we're not just appealing to one half of North Lancashire, we're appealing to all of it. It's a really good thing. And just as for the form and the season and everything else, all I can see is third in the league and beating Accrington and Bolton. I mean, literally, that's all I can see.
That's all you want, isn't it?
That's all you want. I mean, third in the league, beat Bolton, beat Accrington. And what's not to love?
It's an absolute humdinger. Because on the 19th of the 2nd at 2:00, Morecambe Ladies versus Bolton Wanderer Girls FC. That's it. That's your inaugural game at the Mazuma, weather permitting. Obviously, we'll probably get plague of frogs or something that'll put it off, but I hope not. And that's 2:00. People, what else are you going to be doing on a Sunday? Go to church? Possibly not at 2:00 in the afternoon. Go to the Church of the Mazuma and see Morecambe women batter Bolton. That's my take on it. Well, fingers crossed. But I notice you've got a pretty tough draw. You've got Preston in the cup, haven't you? Is that coming up?
That's this weekend, yeah, this Sunday. It is a tough draw, but Preston haven't played for a while. I don't know why, but so hopefully they won't be as fresh as us, and we get a result, because it's one of those games that. Local rivals, local derby, and there is a bit of needle sometimes. So it's nice to come out at the end of it on the right side.
Yeah, I'd love that as well, because obviously I worked in Preston for 11 years, and they were always quite sniffy about us because they were Championship, and at the time we were League Two. So I hope you batter them. But I'm now looking at the league table, and I want to touch on what James just said there. He's quite right, third in the league, which is fantastic. But Haslingden ladies and girls, they've played 15, points 32. We've played 15, and like I said, we lost the first 7, 8 unbeaten, so 1-6, draw 2, 20 points. We're 12 points behind. But the crazy thing is, Preston North End, they've only played 7 games. You've played twice as many games as them, so something's happened there, hasn't it? But there's other Penwitham have only played 8, Bolton have only played 8, Blackpool are above us, having played 3 games less, having won 9 and lost 3. So it's what I was touching on before, in the fact that it won't really sort itself out until people have caught up. But I'm a firm believer at all levels of football, if play your games when you can, because you never know you do not want to be playing 3 games a week come near the end of the season, because it never works out, Joel, does it?
No, and actually that's an interesting point about Preston. I think we've seen in the women's game, obviously, I think it was the most last weekend where the Liverpool. I think it was Liverpool-Chelsea game, got called off after 5 minutes because
6 minutes,
the pitch hadn't been properly inspected. And I wonder if that's kind of a similar thing that's happened with Preston. And is that a bit of a concern at time that the infrastructure across a lot of clubs sadly hasn't been put in yet?
I think what we find with Preston, they play at UCLan, and their pitches are well used and well protected. So if there is any slight chance that they may get cut up. But I agree. I mean, we've played all our games whenever we can, because we know that we've got a strong squad at the minute. We'd have rather have not played them early on in the season, but obviously the weather was nice, so we had to. But we've started using an all-weather pitch at Bay Leadership Academy now, so we've been able to get the games on. And as you say, points in the bag. People have got to catch us. It's all right saying we've got 5-6 games over you, but we've got the points in the bag, and I think we'll probably sit in third for a few weeks because we've got a cup game this week. And then teams may start to edge towards us. But then again, we can finish strongly still. If we can go on unbeaten till the end of the season, there's no reason why we shouldn't finish third or even sneak second. We're never going to catch it this year, but it's certainly food for thought for next season, because we know what we can do now. So if we can keep everybody together for next season, the same team, we'll be up there.
I think we touched on it before, actually, just going into kind of the operations of the club. I think you joked about an Accrington player wanting to join us, and obviously there's a long traditional history of a merry-go-round of Morecambe and Accrington players. But in terms of for you, when you're building a team at your level, how does the recruitment kind of work, and how are you attracting players in?
Me personally, I obviously some of the players that have come back I've known a few years. The newer players, it's not as easy, so that's why we probably rely on things like the social media stuff. It's certainly going to be better for us now with the badge, the Twitter and Facebook stuff, in terms of trying to get players in. It's just that early season stuff. Girls trying to go away and enjoy the holiday and trying to come back quite slowly. Whereas in the men's game, we're obviously getting paid for it, and they need to come back and do as they're told. Not the same with the women; they just don't rush back like you would want them to. It's quite frustrating, and that's probably part of the reason why I've stepped away. But it's just recruitment-wise. I mean, our players, we've got Barrow, Bolton, Blackpool. Not a lot. Ulverston, not a lot from local, to be honest. But the juniors that are coming through, Becca, Sophie, and I both run 2 separate under-14s teams. So we've got a bright future with those coming through, because we know what we've got, and we know we've got some good players. So it's just keeping those girls interested and keen. There are some in the under-15s and under-16s. So hopefully, we can keep things going and building from here with that side of things.
On your side of things, Becca, when you're kind of looking for a club, what's the kind of process you go through? Is it kind of guided by location or several different factors, or what club looks most attractive?
I mean, I'm local anyway, and I'm quite loyal, so I wouldn't ever jump ship or anything like that. But I guess
it's that bad.
From other girls' perspective, exactly. Obviously, we've had girls come back this season that have seen all the social media stuff, and I think that's big in itself. A lot of the clubs don't have people that can sit and do stuff like that and have the pictures shared and all this Tyson Fury sponsored kit. And I don't know. I just think it's massive what we've got this season. It obviously will attract a lot, but I'm local. I won't be going anywhere.
So that it's been a positive then, because obviously, you know, you go on the club's website and there's the pictures of you all and etc. etc. And I just want to touch on. I looked at the appearances and I was like, good God, the squad's enormous. You must have used about 40 players. Is that right, Becca?
Yeah, we have got an awful lot signed on. Again, some are injured, some things have happened in life. As I say, we've got the core, I think, now, and the team that we've had for the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty good. So I'd like to think they'll be the ones, really. But yeah, there is a lot of players on there.
So when you said girls have come back, they've disappeared to other teams, or they weren't local and were playing for their local side, or what's happened?
Yeah, a bit of both, really. That can name two that was with us the past few seasons. Maybe they've seen other things that look better they've been, and then they've realised it wasn't as good as what they had, so they've come back.
And I've got to admit that everything that you've outlined, there's an enormous amount of benefits. Like you said, just, you know, if you want to sign somebody, just say, oh, just go on the website, look at the pictures, look at the kit, look who sponsors us, look at the setup, look where we play half our home games at the Mazuma, etc., etc. That's got to be a fantastic thing to do, so to attract players, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's huge. What other grassroots club has all those attractions? I can't think of any, can you?
No, there are one or two. Obviously, Bolton and Crewe, but they're obviously supported by Bolton are, but a bit more money behind the men's from the men's side. But it's coming, and we obviously appreciate everything. As you said, the social media stuff's massive. Everything's social media nowadays, isn't it? So just jumping on it and being able to have that following now and get that support through that way is massive. And I know for certain that there's one or two players that have come back or come because of what they've seen and what they've seen early on. I mean, when you say girls weren't here early on in the season, you've got to think that a lot of them are students and disappear, or they're in Tenerife, or, you know, having the summers and coming back late. But I think, as I said, we can move on the social media stuff, games at Mazuma, the support from Morecambe. Stuart, I didn't mention Ben earlier on, but Ben's been great. He's obviously been through everything before with Harrogate, was it? And he knows the system. He knows how it all works. So again, Ben's been fantastic with it all. When we've asked a question, he's always been straight back with an answer. So it's all been positive. Honestly, it's been fantastic. So it's just a breath of fresh air to be part of it all.
And looking at the future this season, Becca, on the field, is it just 8 unbeaten? Are you just hoping to keep that? You know, I mean, obviously it's a tough game against Preston. They've got like a million games in hand, but they've only lost once according to the league game, the league tally at the moment. Is that a game with the squad that you've got now that you can compete more?
I reckon so. I think we've got it in the bag without being too overly confident or cocky. No one's got us yet. They ain't going to get us now, are they?
Well, I hope so. And if you prove to be correct and you absolutely batter Preston, you'll have to come on next week and tell us how you did it. So I'm going to go through looking at the fixtures now. Well, I'm not actually. I'm looking on the wrong page, but I've got the fixtures now. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. You've got Preston twice in a week. You've got them away in the cup and then away in the league. Yeah. Is that right? So which would you rather win, Becca? Or do you just fancy 5-0 both times?
Oh, both. I mean, the cup would be nice because obviously we can get the next round and it'll be a good round, really. But obviously the league as well. We don't want the unbeaten track to go down. So definitely both.
Fair enough. Then obviously we go to 19th of February, and that's the big one, Bolton Wanderers Girls FC Women. Following on from that, 19th of March, Workington Reds, which is the rearranged fixture when we were in December, wasn't it? So
yeah.
So that one's probably more than likely to go ahead, which is one for your diary. And sort of like take the 19th of March, 2:00 kickoff. You're doing your warm up, Becca, and you look up and Brian Campbell has put the scoreboard together and your names are there. And you're looking up at the scoreboard thinking, oh, wow. And you turn around and there's people in the seats and there's people eating pies and you'll be thinking, oh my God, we've arrived. That'll be a fantastic day, won't it?
Oh, it sure will. I know the run up to the Workington game that got postponed, that I was having nightmares every night because I was panicking, thinking I'm going to have stage fright and all this and all that. And I can't even begin to tell you that feeling when we're on that pitch. It'll be unreal. So, yeah, we've just got to have everyone there watching us.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be. And I'd love to be there. What about you, Joel?
No, yeah, I'm sure it'll be a really great occasion. You know, I think, like you say, I think for loads of people, you know, you want to see your name up from there, and it's really great that as a club we're able to give the team that kind of support to be able to kind of get people coming into the stadium and treating it a bit more professionally and everything. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a really, really good occasion.
And obviously you'll have support of the crowd because, as we've seen on many occasions already with the men's team on a Saturday, they do get behind the team and they give them the full support. And we had Connor Ripley on last week, and he was waxing lyrical about walking off after we'd been beaten by MK Dons 4-0, and everybody was clapping him. And he said it didn't make sense. And I said, but it does make sense because we want you to do well. And it's like, oh yeah, hard luck. You can't. There hasn't been a performance from the men this season where you could honestly say they haven't tried their hardest. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It'll be great to have the support of the fans there on the day, whichever day that you actually finally make your debut there. Because, like I say, the fans will be there. You'll have your families there, etc., etc. It's a fantastic, it's exciting time, isn't it?
What an occasion! It'll be absolutely amazing. Everybody coming together. The women will feel like professionals in the kit. As you said, seeing the names in lights. Yeah, it'll be absolutely amazing. We're very, very excited.
And I'm not saying that, yes, we're a popular podcast, but I'm setting a target for everybody who's out there listening to this. If you can get to a women's game on a Sunday, there's hopefully 3 coming up in the next 3 months. If you can get there, great stuff, because I want to be in a situation where I can report on the podcast that Morecambe women are getting bigger crowds than Lancaster City.
Oh, no.
Well, I like that. I like that, Freeze. That is a great target.
You know what? We had, I think there was just over 200 tickets sold for the game in December.
Lancaster are getting about 250. So.
Well, there was loads mentioned to me that they weren't sure with the weather. They hadn't bought the tickets. They were going to leave it till the day. So I'm pretty sure that we will break 250 if it's done the right way.
Oh, there you are. Now's the time to get stage fright, Becca.
Treat it like another day.
Yeah, exactly. It's play the game, not the occasion. That's what all footballers are told. And not that I was ever been a footballer, but there you go. So final fixture that we've got down on the 30th of April is Morecambe ladies versus Penrith ladies, and that is, hopefully, prospectively, that is at the Mazuma also. And we want sweet revenge for that 7-2 defeat, Becca, don't we?
Yeah, we sure do. I went and watched that game on crutches, and it was the most painful game I've ever watched.
Why did you not? From my... So what was your injury?
I tore my PTFL in my ankle in pre-season. We actually, funny enough, were playing Bolton, believe it or not. So yeah, it was a sore one, but a good 10, 11, 12 weeks of recovery there.
Well, I bet that was a bit of a nightmare watching every week and seeing us get beat. That must have been frustrating to watch for you.
Oh yeah. It's hard when it's not your full team that's there and the full fight, and it's so frustrating to watch it. But looking how we are now, obviously it's behind us. It's one of them, like we say, we're third. Hopefully we can keep third. And do you know what? Look at where we are compared to where we started.
And look at the home advantage you're going to get with like crowds are bigger than Lancaster City. I keep saying it, James. I keep saying it. It might happen. So there you go.
What do you mean it might happen? Let's go for 500 and make sure it happens.
Yeah, right. James is just thinking we're going to have to make more pies.
No, I'm not thinking that at all. I'm just thinking like, what can we do on social media to make sure we get 500 there? Like,
Exactly.
seriously.
Well, the podcast helps, and I'm sure the new media manager will get behind it, won't he? So,
let's see if we can beat a men's crowd from about 4 years ago on a Tuesday night. Let's do that and then kick on from there.
Well, it's funny you should say that because somebody this week was reminding me of the Barry Roach goal against Portsmouth, and there was 900 and something there.
There you go.
Night.
Target for next season.
Target for next season. 900. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Good shout. I like that.
I mean, the good thing is it could be on a nice sunny March Sunday afternoon where it's nice and people can rock up in the t-shirt and shorts. And well, that's a bit optimistic, but you never know.
Yeah, I was going to say in March.
All our juniors will be coming, and that's like over 150. So we're halfway there, aren't we?
Yeah, that's the other thing with the last one. It fell on the same day as Man City, Man United Women's. So we had a lot of the junior section. We're going to watch that. They'd already paid. They didn't know. So that'll add to the game.
Well, there you are. Look out, Giant Axe. That's all I have to say on the matter. And just while we're on it, I there's a couple of points I want to make. And being a decrepit old fossil that I am, I play walking football 3 times a week up at Mossgate. And obviously, as you know, Morecambe FC in the community, they after the success of the Lionesses in the summer, they started a girls only session on a Wednesday night. And it was like having a flock of starlings there. The first night they did it, there was about 40 or 50 girls. And do you know something? This Wednesday coming, it was 3 degrees. And there was still about 30 girls there. And that's absolutely fantastic what they're doing that. And the interest is definitely there. So I can see you getting some really, in a few years' time, getting these players passed on to you at sort of 12 and 13 with the basics. And it'll be great for Morecambe FC in the future. Because literally, we play right next to the girls, and the girls, they're keen as mustard. I have to say, we have to stop our game about 50 times because there's about 3 orange balls bouncing on it because they can't, they haven't got the control and stuff yet, but they've got the keen as mustard. And the second thing, I always see Barry Roach does his coaching there with his goalkeeping kids. And he was there on Wednesday night, and I've never, ever seen him look absolutely so. He was white and worn out. And my first question to him was, what time did you get home last night? And he said, 4:30. That was from Ipswich. And I went, I bet you don't want to be here, do you? And he went, I'm not saying. So as Joel was alluding to, the 102 fans that went to Ipswich, I know that Paul Carter's lot didn't get back till past 5 o'clock. And some of them had to get up and go to work. Now that is the absolute pure dedication. So well done to you guys, and well done to Paul Carter and all the 102 that went. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Commitment.
Right. Final couple of things before we wrap up. James, I did notice. I don't know if you noticed, but the new version. What's the new Twitter thing called?
What you mean?
The replacement Twitter thing.
I've got no idea. I've just lost all interest in everybody talking about it. What is it?
Yeah, well, exactly. What was it called? Is it a Matador or something like that? Or something like that?
Mastodon.
Mastodon, that's it. Mastodon. I noticed I'm not on Mastodon, but somebody put the link on that somebody had done some extensive research into the person trying to buy the club. And it made quite interesting reading. So what I assume from this is obviously that nothing's happened and the EFL have still not come back and we're still going through the process. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. I actually think, no, I don't think I know. I wrote the programme notes for Saturday against Bristol, and basically it's like that. It's like watching people try to buy a house. It's painful and it's slow, and there's all manner of things that drag it through the mud. And just make it go even slower, and that's just what it is. But yeah, there is a process ongoing. No update as yet, and I promise that nothing has changed. And if something meaningful changes, we will tell everybody straight away.
That's fair enough. You know me, I have to ask.
Of course.
And I know I've got to look at what else I've got to ask. Anything from the Shrimps Trust, Droll?
Nothing too much over the past week. I don't think. Obviously, we met a couple of weeks ago. We discussed kind of looking at putting some more events on over the next couple of months, which we'll be updating you a bit more about on Facebook and social media. But as of the moment, there's not too much to update on just right now, other than the fact that obviously we have the quiz night on the 18th, which I believe is after the Peterborough game. We've got more details of that on social media, obviously, and yeah, as many people as possible. We'd love to see you all down there. So yeah, do come along if you're able to.
Right, okay. James, my last one for you. We've filled a coach to Derby, which is obviously a week on Saturday. Is there any signs of another coach being put on, or is it just going to stay there? Do we know?
It's honestly a case of just looking at each fixture and looking at the demand levels and assessing when there's a demand. What we don't want is a coach with 8 people on it that costs the club some money and isn't really much fun for the people on the coach. But where there's genuinely demand, we're looking at it. So I think it's as it should be. Case by case, and we're doing it when we can. Just in terms of general updates, there's nothing groundbreaking going on at the moment, but it is important to note that no matter what's happening behind the scenes, that everything is just carrying on as normal. So we're looking at kits for next season. There's planning going ahead for the concerts, the events in the summer. There's planning going on for the gala dinner, which is looking like it's going to be a really good do. We've got work going on in terms of the season ticket launch, and so everybody's looking forwards to things in the future and carrying on as they should. So it's all actually going reasonably smoothly at the moment, and long may the performance on the pitch continue. And I suppose from the point of view of this podcast, I take any of the focus away from Morecambe Women, because that's what this should be about. So yeah, let's target getting to a crowd bigger than the Giant Axe first, and then let's target 900 odd second next season.
Yeah.
Well, just as a matter of interest, it's been a pleasure to have you all on, as per normal, with my friend from the boardroom and my co-presenter. But next time you come on, Nick, you take your coat off like you're stopping, because you just look like you just look like you're about to get up and walk the dog.
Have you seen price of gas?
I was going to say, was it a case of switch the heating off? We've got to put the computer on, love, so we'll have to save some money.
Yeah, I've got a meter over there. It's telling me exactly what we're using, so it keeps staying on all night. This.
I was just getting from coaching.
No, we've been coaching tonight. I've just run into.
Yeah, so yeah, and it is cold out there, to be fair. So listen, thank you for coming on. I'm sure this will hopefully, you can point people towards the podcast and say you can listen to us rattling on about the good things about Morecambe FC, both men and women. Becca, good luck against Preston. I'll hold you to it. We want to win both of those and keep the unbeaten run going. So we want next round of the cup, and we want to keep Preston below us in the league. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, you'll do for me. We'll keep an eye on this one. This has been ShrimpNet number 22, I think, of the season. Yeah, Joel always goes like that because we don't count. I have no idea. Thank you for listening. Well done to the 102 that went to Ipswich. Well done to the 500 that are going to come to the first women's game on at 2:00 on a Sunday. And up yours, Giant Axe. Thank you very much. This has been ShrimpNet. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.